When we talk about space, the first thing that comes to mind are planets, astronauts, and zero gravity from some million miles away. But what we don't realize is that space technology affects our lives in more ways than one. On its second anniversary, the Philippine Space Agency wants to highlight how space technology can help the country cope and recover from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, with us this morning is Gay Jane Perez. She's the Deputy Director General for Space Science and Technology at the PhilSA. Good morning, Jane.
Hi, good morning, Paolo.
How are you? Thank you for joining us. Now, can you tell us, Gay, about the relevance of the space technology during this pandemic and our economic recovery? Now, we understand that you have this so-called space data dashboard. It sounds very intriguing. What is it and what does it do?
All right. So first of all, I'd like to say that with satellite data, we can monitor economic activities. So this include looking at movement of goods, ships, traffic. So here you're seeing the data dashboard where we put in satellite-based information, as I mentioned earlier, along with other observations like looking at our water quality, air quality, changes in the land cover. So all of these are important in tracking economic activities, especially now. Right now we are in lockdown, but as people eventually go about their business after we emerge from this lockdown, it's good to see how things are recovering, like how we go back, like going back to work. We can see signals from space, especially nightlight. We see more activities at night happening. So all of this can be tracked using satellite data.
Right. I mean, that's something that you don't necessarily think of first off. You know, I mean, after all, space and space data seems so far away, but it really does have a bearing on how we can track our economic recovery. Now, PhilSA just turned 2 years old. Gay, congratulations on that. Tell us a little bit more about the theme this year.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's just 2 years since the law was signed. And what's interesting is for almost the entire period, these 2 years, we are in the pandemic. So, but one of our, I guess, achievements or highlights in these past 2 years is really towards building up of the organization. So as we speak, we now have more than 50 employees in PhilSA. We have also established partnerships with various international organizations. Among the landmark framework agreements were with JAXA, or the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and the UNUSA. So these are important partnership because we leverage from this international cooperation to further advance our space science technology and applications.
All right, Gay, now, during this pandemic, there has been such an increase in the demand for internet service. We're all working from home and working remotely. And I mean, we use a lot of internet these days. PhilSA has definitely a role to play here in terms of improving internet access. What is that?
Well, one of the applications of satellite is internet service. No? So what PhilSA is doing is shining light on this new technology where internet can be more accessible, especially in hard to reach and disadvantaged areas. So there are now satellites that are deployed at low Earth orbit. So unlike the conventional satellite communications where they are much further from us, like at 36,000 kilometers, these new satellites deployed at low Earth orbits are much closer at maybe 1,000 kilometers away only. So making latency in data transmission shorter. So this would provide real-time applications like voice messaging, interactive games, among others. And as you can see, through subscribing to these satellite services for communication, isolated areas that are not normally connected through fiber connection can have easy access to internet.
Exciting stuff. Now, before I let you go on the subject of satellites, can you give us an update on the satellites being developed by Filipinos, especially the biggest one yet? I know we've got smaller nano satellites, but this one, the biggest one yet, is the Mula satellite. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
All right, thank you. So MULA stands for a multispectral unit for land assessment. And I would like to say this is also one of the major highlights of PhilSA for its short 2 years since its inception. So this one is a 130 kilogram class satellite compared to its predecessor, the Diwata 1 and Diwata 2, which are 50 kilogram satellites. It's much bigger, hence it can host a bigger payload, in this case a telescope, which will allow us to get images at a wider coverage and also more revisit. So with this capability, we can extract several applications that are useful for monitoring our agriculture. So this is very important, especially as we also recover from the pandemic. As you know, food security is an important issue. This will also be useful in monitoring our environment and other applications like disaster response, among others.
All right, really exciting news and updates there for our budding astronauts and future scientists for space. Thank you once again for joining us. That was Gay Jane Perez from the Philippine Space Agency.